The number one thing I hear from riders, trainers, competitors over and over is I hear, I just need to ride more. I need to show more. That's going to fix all my problems. If I just ride more, that's how I'm going to improve my skills as a rider is I need time in the saddle to build that muscle memory. That's how I'm going to improve my skills. If I'm freaking out and worried about shows, I need to just go show more. And this is how we're going to do it. And I see non-pros, adult amateurs. I see pros and trainers. Everybody buys into this bullshit. Okay. And so I am here on the podcast to tell you today it is not a skill issue. It's not a talent issue. It's not that you aren't capable. It's all your mental game. And let's go. Welcome to the Resilient Rainer, the premier podcast focused on mental performance for equestrians and improved horse show performance. Whether you're a rookie reiner or a seasoned competitor, this show is for riders who want to take their skills to the next level and achieve their full potential in the show ring. I'm Nicole Burnett, and I'm a master mindset coach who's obsessed with helping you achieve all those horse dreams you always thought were impossible. Join me each week to develop a show-ready mindset and gain the competitive edge you need to compete with confidence. Okay, cowboy, this is not a skill issue. This is not a talent issue. It's not that you're not capable. It's subconscious resistance. This is all about your mental game. Yeah, we're going there today. We're getting straight to your pain points, the real reason that you aren't popping off with your horse yet. And I just see this so much. We're getting into it. So this is the real reason that your lead changes are spotty and why you sometimes win the class, but sometimes you're embarrassingly bad. So what is it? What do I mean when I say it's subconscious resistance? I mean, it's fear of responsibility, that worrying that once you start winning, the pressure will be too much. It's feeling unsafe with success because deep down, you've tied achievement to expectations, to judgment, to loss. And I totally ruffle feathers when I say, oh, you're afraid of being successful. No, this one is so real and trips up so many people. It's a subconscious belief that ease equals laziness. Ooh, so you push, you grind, and you make it harder than it needs to be. It's that Puritan work ethic. It's the belief that if riding well and winning come naturally, oh, you didn't earn it. And obviously, you have to earn it. You have to work so hard. You have to pay your dues. You have to do all these things before you're allowed to have success. It's fear that if you finally step into your potential, people will expect more or they'll take advantage of you. And let me give you an example of this out of the saddle. So, for example, you're working at your job and you do really good at your job. So, what happens when you're good at your job? You get more work. Okay. They give you more work. They don't necessarily promote you. They don't give you more money. They're not like, oh my gosh, here's an extra 5 grand because you made the company 100,000 in sales or something. They just give you more work or they just, oh, you become too valuable in your current position. We can't promote you. You have to stay at your current position. Or you just keep getting more and more work. And then all of a sudden, you haven't been promoted. You're not getting more money and you're doing two people's jobs. So this is the kind of thing that can train you. And then you bring all that crap over to your horse life and you say, oh my gosh, I tried doing better at work and I had these things happen that I didn't like. And so I'm worried that if I start doing really well at horses, people are going to expect more. They're going to take advantage of me in the same way that it happened in this other area. And you don't even realize what's going on in the background, but that's why it's a subconscious fear, okay? Or a belief. So it's a subconscious belief that becoming too successful will make you an outsider in your circle. And obviously, we can't want that, or we don't want that. What I'm trying to say is that we're humans. That means that we're social creatures. For as much as horses are herd animals, so are we, right? If you were kicked out of the clan like thousands, millions of years ago, you're going to die. You would just die on your own. And you don't want to die. You want to be a part of the group. So that's terrifying to your nervous system, to your body, to your mind. So if you need to be a worse rider to be safe, your subconscious mind and your nervous system is going to want you to be a worse rider so that you're safe. That's what what your body wants for you. Is your nervous system wants to keep you safe. Your subconscious brain is like, you gotta be safe. And being safe is not the same thing as being the best. It is a hidden fear that even if you reach your biggest riding goals, you could still feel unfulfilled. And you can imagine if you're like, oh my gosh, if I win that globe, what if it doesn't fulfill all my wildest dreams? Maybe I don't really want to go for it. It's an outdated story that struggle is required before success, that you have to prove your worth with blood, sweat, and tears. You have to prove it to you. You have to prove it to some, other people. It is a fear that if you finally reach your dream level of competition or success, that you'll lose your hunger and drive. That you want that hunger, you want that fire in your belly, and you want it and you need it, and it drives you. But if finally, it's like the dog chasing the car, right? If the dog finally catches the car, they're like, I don't know what the hell to do. It's like that. And so you can have this script running in the background of like, well, what if I get everything? I wouldn't even know what to do with my life. It's feeling unworthy of getting that good without struggling first. It's a subconscious fear that your success will create tension with friends, with your trainer, or your barn family. It's an identity attachment to being the hardest worker instead of the one who makes it look effortless. Ooh, and I see this one all the time, right? Especially if you are a DIYer, if you are making your own horses, or you pride yourself on your horsemanship. You can be in a full-time program, but you still pride yourself on your horsemanship. And so you want to be really hardworking. You're always taking really good care of your horse. You're always learning more, doing more. If you have any sort of history as a kid where maybe you are doing really well for yourself now, your horse is in training, but as a kid, you had to do it all yourself. And so you've really created this identity for yourself around being the hardest worker. And that can be directly at odds with the rider who is just floating through air, who makes everything look effortless. Because how can hardest worker and effortless are totally opposed to each other? And this is the kind of stuff we get so in detail to inside of Mental Gym for equestrians. We are starting in 2 weeks, April 1st. I have a couple slots left if you love this kind of stuff, because inside Mental Gym, this is what we do. We go deep into identity work so that you truly have and own the identity of a champion. So you're not holding yourself back. Okay. We go deep into subconscious rewiring. We have nervous system regulation so that you are safe to be the biggest, baddest cowgirl or cowboy at the show, okay? So that you can be the best rider that you can. Because I know that inside of you, you have that intuitive, instinctive feel, that you have everything it takes for show-stopping runs. We just have to bring it forward. And so I have my unique processes and amazing things we do inside of MGE to do this identity work, to do the subconscious rewiring and the nervous system regulation, so you can step into that best version of yourself that's already exists. We just get rid of these old programs that aren't serving you anymore. Because that's the kind of thing, it's that you have to face these head on. You have to be like, wait a minute, what is happening here? Like, how do I reconcile this? And so we get all into that of how do you reconcile being the hardest worker with, wait, do you want to be the one who just looks like a natural, effortless rider? What do you want? So if this is for you, join us. I have a few slots left and it is super high touch, very high touch, white glove. We work very closely together to accomplish all of this. And we're starting April 1st. So mentalgymforequestrians.com. But I also have so many more examples of what does it mean where it's a subconscious writing block. So it's an emotional block. These emotional blocks are so huge, where deep down, you don't fully trust yourself to handle the pressure of being at the top. You don't really trust yourself to be there when you need you. It's a pattern of underestimating yourself or holding back in the show pen because stepping up feels uncomfortable. And stepping up is going to feel uncomfortable, at least at first, because you're stepping up. Let me explain what I mean. What I mean is that your comfort zone is where you feel comfortable, right? But your comfort zone is just the way that you've done things. It's not even the way you want to do things. It's just the way you've done things. And your subconscious brain and your nervous system, they want to keep you alive. They don't care about you being the best. They just want to keep you safe and alive. And so they want to keep you in your comfort zone. So you're going to be uncomfortable when you start leveling up, even when it's what you want, even when it's because you're writing better. Isn't that crazy? It's so weird to me, but it's just a thing. And so having someone who can help guide you through that and being like, I know you just did amazing. Why do you feel so weird? Let's help you through that. Okay. So, but just know that, yeah, you can be uncomfortable even when you're writing better than you ever have. And I also see this with my one-on-one clients where they'll be like, I'm doing amazing. Why am I just questioning everything? Why do I feel like crap? And it often comes down to this identity work of what identity do you have yourself? If you're used to getting 72s, if you've been scoring 75s, you're not quite sure you want to believe that about yourself, even if that's what you want, even if that's what you're proving to yourself. And so you're like, wait a minute, what is my identity? Is this questioning my identity? What's happening? There's a belief that being too good will make others resent you. And ooh, those crabs in a bucket, you know? Like I grew up on the coast, and so I've literally seen, I worked at, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this phrase. So I live in the Mountain West now. I love the Mountain West. Very like, I don't know, it's just very John Wayne out here, and I love it. But I grew up on the water. And so I had jobs where I worked at marinas, and one of the things would be like, okay, the fishermen would bring in the salmon, and then you'd get the salmon. And so people would come and they'd pick out a fish, and then, I'd fillet the fish for them and be like, here's your fresh off the boat salmon that I just filleted for you. So I can get a fish really well. And then you could also pick out fresh crabs. So we'd have these like crab pots, and then or sometimes just literally like trash cans like that would live in the water, and you'd pull it out and then you'd pick out a crab. Here's your crab. And then you could go home and eat it. I do miss the fresh seafood. It was so good. If you've never tried it, I love chia pino. Like people talk a lot about clam chowder, but oh my gosh, chia pino. I dream about chia pino like with all the things in it. It's so good. Anyway, but crabs in a bucket. They literally pull each other down into the bucket. I remember seeing it with my own eyes and being like, this is so true, in a very kid way where you don't necessarily believe the things adults tell you until you see it with your own eyes. So that's a real thing that, you know, you're afraid people will resent you. You're afraid people are going to want to pull you down. And that's a real fear that you have to address and talk yourself off the ledge. And oh, okay, here's another one that I hear all the time. There's a fear that more success will come with more restrictions, right? Less freedom to just ride your horse, right? So I know I loved when I was a kid, like just that feeling of freedom to just be like, oh, I'm going to the barn. I'm going to be there all afternoon. I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to ride my horse. And I know that as an adult, when you start having bigger show dreams and you're like, I'm going to this show, I'm going to that show, I'm going to be a part of this program, it can feel very serious, right? It can feel very, very adult, very serious. That's my little sass coming out. I can't say serious without just saying like serious. It's so serious. Okay, I'm gonna just make myself crack up. It's serious. You have to be serious at this horse show. Oh my gosh. But my main point here is that as an adult, you're paying your own bills. I get it. You're paying your own bills, and you're like, I need to do this. This is my big dream. But it can feel really serious. You're like, my horse is in a stall, or I have to show up. And when I show up, we have to work because we're working on transitions, we're working on our spins, we need to work on blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't have time to just have fun with my horse. I don't have time to go on a hack or a trail ride. Like, oh, they'll ruin my show horse. And for a lot of people, that doesn't actually sound that great. The idea that you have to be so freaking uptight and so buttoned up all the damn time, people don't want to live like that. And so I can appreciate that. I get it. You want, maybe not every time, but sometimes you just want to go enjoy your horse. And so if you feel that success means you can't have fun, if success means that you can't enjoy your horse, you're not really going to want it, are you? No, you're not. And that only makes sense when you're thinking that way, right? It's a belief that becoming too elite will make you unrelatable. It's subconscious guilt around surpassing your mentors, surpassing your parents, or the people who helped you along the way. There are some really fabulous trainers out there, and they, I love the ones who are going to be like, hey, you are improving so much, or hey, I see that you really want to do a certain type of show. Maybe you're getting more into ranch riding, and I'm a reiner, or maybe you just want to go to different shows than this barn goes to. I really think you should go work with my buddy over here. You're going to be such a great fit. It's going to be awesome. There are those trainers, and they are great. But there are also trainers who they think the pie is limited instead of looking to make more pies. Okay. And so they might do things like maybe it's their behavior of not truly encouraging you to ride your best, or maybe it's just internal to you that you're afraid of what's going to happen if you outgrow the barn. And this is one of those funny things where, like, if you're learning to play the piano, you don't expect that the person who teaches you how to, learn your scales and introduces you to piano is going to be the same person to teach you at piano for 20 years and still be your teacher when you're about to play at Carnegie Hall. And yet somehow we think that with horses that we have to be with the exact same trainer forever instead of, oh, we grow, we learn, people have different things. Like it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you or the trainer or like there's just different fits and different phases of life. Like it's not, to me, it's really not a big deal. And it doesn't mean anybody is bad at what they do or done anything wrong, but that can bring up a lot of really big feelings when you start doing really well. So, that anyway, it can bring up a lot of big feelings. There's an identity crisis. And I brought this up because there's several identity crises you can have. And I know I've had like pretty much all of these. So don't worry. But who will you be when you are no longer the underdog? This is one I see so much. Okay. Like, holy crap, I'm freaking out, man. You're used to being the underdog. You're used to being underestimated, to maybe not scoring at the top, to working really hard, and people are, they don't expect things of you. And then all of a sudden, what if you just start winning? What if you just start doing really well? Who are you still the underdog? Is that like, that people can get a lot of motivation? It can serve you to be the underdog. It can feel like you don't have pressure because people don't expect things. There's so much that can be tied up in this, right? It's a fear that if you climb the ranks, you're going to have to stay there, right? If you start doing well, if you start showing a certain level, you have to stay there forever. Oh my gosh. And the pressure is crushing. What if you can't? Ah! Okay. Like, it's a fear. It's a subconscious belief that more wins, more recognition, and bigger opportunities, that just means more stress, right? 99 problems, but winning ain't one, right? Okay. That was funny to me. Okay. There's past experience that competition, money, success, that it did bring drama. That there's an experience in your past where all of this, it didn't end well. So now you avoid it, even subconsciously, because we were talking all about these sort of subconscious programs that run in the background. These things that you're not necessarily or that you aren't consciously aware that you're thinking or you're believing or that you've incorporated into your this is how the world works framework. It's a fear that standing out means opening yourself up to judgment and criticism. And honestly, I mean, all of these, I truly understand them. But this one, like, yeah, people are going to judge you because humans are human. And we don't like feeling judged or criticized. And so that's a hard one that you've got to figure out how you handle that. It's a survival response. As I've said repeatedly, your nervous system is wired for safety. It's not wired for overflow. It's a subconscious fear that having more means there's more to lose. It's guilt, like you're taking opportunities from other riders instead of creating them. And especially if you think of yourself as a giver or a good person, how could you take it away from, oh, so and so, Sherry's been working so hard with her horse. She really deserves to win more than I do, or things like that. It's the belief that you have to be different, that you have to be smarter, be better, be more ready before you're allowed to succeed. And that feels like enough for today. Wowza, okay? This is how we roll here, okay? We get straight into it. We're going to be very, very direct. This has been a very no BS, very direct podcast, but this is how I like to be, where I'm going to tell you exactly where you're holding yourself back. I'm not going to let you stay there. Absolutely not. But in these coaching spaces with me, I don't tolerate self sabotage, victim mentality, definitely no I can't language. I'm here to challenge you to own your mindset and take responsibility for how you show up. I call it like I see it, but it's from a place of deep belief in your potential, where I expect you to rise to the occasion, not settle for excuses. Now, if I were to wrap all this up, because we've covered a lot, If any of these things that I've said today have hit home for you, just know this: you are not broken. You don't need to try harder. You don't need another trainer you telling you to go ride more or just to do better next time. What you do need is to get your nervous system and your subconscious fully on board with your massive success. That is exactly what we do inside the Mental Gym for Equestrians, where I help Western riders just like you rewire the mental patterns that are keeping you stuck so that you can step into the saddle with confidence, focus, and clarity. So you can ride like the baddie you are, okay? Imagine what it would feel like to stop second guessing yourself and start riding like the champion inside you. It's totally possible. I'd love to show you how. If you're ready for the next step, join me inside Mental Gym for Equestrians. I have a few spots left and we start April 1st. Let's make this year the year you finally step into your full potential. I can't wait to see you inside. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on the podcast. This is my favorite way to connect with you guys. Thank you again for being here. And if you love this, share it with a friend. If you hate it, share it with an enemy. All right, talk soon.